Hello again, and welcome to another episode of Business Acceleration Playbook, where we are bringing you the plays that you need to win in your business. Today, I am joined by my co-host, the lovely Angela Buckley. We're excited. Today, we're going to be talking about how to launch your business. I know that is an area where I have personally seen a lot of business owners in a moment of just feeling stuck, right? And I really want to kind of talk about, how to avoid that feeling of being stuck, how to go ahead and launch out your product, the steps that you need to take to be able to make sure that your launch is a success, and so much more. But I want to let Angela say hello to all of you all, and then we will get this conversation started.
Hi, good afternoon. It is supposed to be warm outside, but when I woke up this morning, Alexa told me it was 19 degrees Fahrenheit. And then when I got out of the car to walk into my office, it was 10 degrees Fahrenheit. So I'm hoping that whatever's going on outside is far more predictable than what goes on during launches, because that was crazy this morning. As
It isn't
always, you can find
always, though.
me.
Disclaimer: it's not
What'd you
always.
say? It's not
I said
always not.
it doesn't always go that smooth during a launch either. I'm just going to go ahead and say that.
Oh, no. True statement.
Yeah.
So if you ever want to look up what I'm working on these days, you can find me on Instagram at Creatively Efficient, or you can also find me at Angela J. Buckley. So I spend most of my time over there these days, and maybe slightly more academic writing on LinkedIn. But let's get started. Let's have some fun.
Let's do it. So I think
Okay.
that when we think about launching, a lot of people, think about products and services, obviously. And there's a lot of people that also launch courses. But the things that we're going to be talking about, really, you can kind of utilize and plug and play into any of those areas.
Mm-hmm.
So let's first maybe talk about some of the hangups. What keeps people from going ahead and launching that product out? I can't remember if it was last episode or the one before that, but recently we did mention that, there are sometimes people will have something amazing that they just sit on, right? They're afraid to kind of pull the trigger on it, right? They're afraid to go ahead and put it out there because they're afraid of how it's going to be, perceived, if it's going to, they're afraid of failure, right? That's ultimately what they're afraid of. And I know you're very passionate about talking about, failure and all those things. So I know, that's a huge reason why a lot of people just don't launch out their product, their book, their, service, their course, whatever.
Okay, so we can talk about a few things. So originally, we did mention a few sessions back about talking about finding your passion, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, why are you doing this? But I think the other part of launching is also understanding who you're doing this for. You need to have an audience. And one of John Maxwell's favorite lines is that in order to be a leader, you have to have a follower. And so you really need to understand who you're doing your why for, not just why are you doing it. The why typically is for yourself, right? That personal
Mm-hmm.
passion, what's going to get you up in the morning, what's going to get you going. But in reality, the majority of us have a why that's also linked to our community. And I think the better that you understand who your community is and what your community wants, what the value is you bring to your community, now you can start really working on, you marketing people like to call it avatars, right?
Yeah.
But for me in engineering, we talk about gap analysis. What's the pain point? Where are we going? What are we trying to fix? And so I think most of us that are in this online world are more like socialpreneurs, where we're doing some sort of digital help. So without being that pedantic of, I'm going to fix you, that's not what we're doing. I'm going to provide you the skills to help
Yeah,
yourself, right? So,
absolutely.
but that message is very critical to get right, to understand, to be present and empathetic and listening. So, part of the launching process, I believe, is a listening process. And sometimes I think when I look at some of the projects that I've already had completed, but I sit on them for a while, I think my fear isn't that I'm going to release it to the world and a bunch of people will be critical, because I'm pretty accustomed to like getting the harsh
Yeah.
unvarnished feedback, right? But my fear is that I wouldn't be able to support my audience. Like maybe my timing isn't right, or my availability isn't right because something else is going on. And I think for me personally, what would be truly a failure is putting myself out there and not being able to support it afterwards. And so I think sometimes there's a hesitation on the front end of what you mentioned earlier, for sure. I don't want to be judged. But then you have people who are also a little more confident, who are very strong in what they think their product offers, but then they're afraid of failing the people that they're out there to support and help. I think there's a difference. So understanding your why, as we talked about some time ago, right? You're finding your superpower, very critical part of that. And that next step is truly understanding who wants your product, how you want to interact with those people, those individuals. Now I kind of wish we invited Tim to join us today. But moving forward, so now you have your what is obviously your product, your why is what you're getting up in the morning for, and now your who is your customer. And understanding all the parts of the customer. Can they afford what you're offering? Are you creating a product that is accessible to them? Are you going to help them? Do they feel that you're going to help them, or are you just shoving a bunch of information down their throat? How do you make that? And so that launch process is also a very intentional listening process.
Yeah, I 100% agree. And I know that's going to bring us to, one of my key steps I give people, because I am a big fan. I even teach this workshop called Ugly Launch, which I picked that name on purpose because I knew it was going to get people going, you don't want to launch something out if it's ugly. I did that on purpose. That was, creative marketing side of me done that. But I'm not saying, slap some crap out there. I'm saying, much to what you said, yes, you come up with your internal why. You come up with, what are the pain points of your person, your avatar, what is going to connect with them. But without launching something out there, you have a hypothesis, right? You don't have a tested out theory. So, I was the kid with the microscope. I was a science nerd. I was. It's funny. I know. It's funny that you like. I still have a microscope. My kids, I got them a microscope. I get very excited about. I love science. I love biology specifically, the chemistry as well. But biology is my jam. So I love testing things out. I love coming up with what I think it's going to be, but then let's test it. Let's see. And that to me, I bring that into the business realm by saying, yes, get it ready to go. But give yourself a time frame. Don't make it a super long time frame, because you don't want to spend a year working on something that you put out there and your hypothesis was just proven wrong. That's not how they're going to absorb it. That's not what they're going to want. That's not what they're going to need. To me, and I know other people argue with me on what works for me doesn't necessarily work for other people, but I've seen this work for countless amount of people, the same idea of getting a good, solid, ready to launch out beta test product, and then you can tweak it as you go live, because at that point in time, you're getting feedback, you're getting analytics, you're getting the data you need to say, okay, I was right about this, or, oh, I need to tweak this because I was wrong about this aspect. And I think there is a fine line between, not preparing something enough and over preparing.
Yes, over preparing is a lot about analysis paralysis, to your point, like the fear part of it. And so that jumping in. And also, I guess maybe it's my engineering world, but we talk about piloting things. So the ugly launch is exactly that. Instead of sitting around saying, I don't know, it's a hypothesis, it's a theory, I think someone might like it. You have to put it out there into the world and let the world tell you if they're going to like it or not. And I would like to caution that the world is not going to like exactly what you put out there. So please be prepared for feedback. The reason we do ugly launch is that we want that feedback. We're talking about that feedback. The Duke Center for Excellence in Leadership has a really very fine model for innovative, creative products. And what you start doing, it looks like a wave. And The in is your internal and the out of the wave is your external, right? So you start with a really big idea and you go out and you say, hey, what do you think, right? I'm going to talk to my friends. I'm going to talk to colleagues. I'm going to talk to people that are in this space that I'd like to be in. Get some feedback, refine your idea. You come internal, you check to say, hey, does this work for me? Does this work? Am I in the direction of where I want to go? You go back out external, get some feedback. Hey, I've refined my idea. What do you think? And you repeat this process until you get a product. Great. Now I have a product. Now you're going to go back the other way, basically, out into the world, and you're going to include larger and larger. So as you're going one direction to defining your product, you're getting smaller and smaller types of feedback that's more refined subject matter experts. As you have your product and you're starting to launch it, you go the opposite direction. You do a small pilot program. Hey, 5 people, take my class, tell me what you think, find the typos, beat me up because I want the feedback. Now I'm going to come back, do my work, check in with my team. What did we miss? What did we think? What did we hear from the external during development that we need to incorporate now? And you repeat that process and you start going out almost like a hairpin, right? So you came in large, going down till you get the product. Now you're going to go the other way because ideally you're going to launch your product to larger and larger markets. And you're continually doing this wave of in and out, getting your feedback, refining, getting your feedback until you have a product that really meets the masses, right? And masses can be a relative term depending on what you're trying to do. Coaches, we don't frequently want thousands of people because we can't manage it. Many coaches prefer like a hands-on approach. Exactly. So relative term, understanding what you're looking for, but this creative process of starting large and coming in to refine very small. And then once you have a very small individual product, going out the other way of launching and getting increasingly larger bits of feedback. During that whole process, you need to have a very thick skin. You need to be open, you need to hear, and you need to really listen with empathy what other people are telling you with their different perspectives. And none of it is a personal critique on you. And I think that is a real opportunity for all of us. And thankfully, I've gotten a little older and maybe a little more thicker skin. But like as a kid or when I was young, and somebody just marked a paper, right? Like that hurt.
Oh, I can remember crying.
Yes. Crying.
Bawling.
Crying. I was in graduate school and this poor lady had not had the same level of support in her youth that I had. And she was in tears. And I'm like, I'm really sorry that you're in tears now because I was in tears younger when I got the same type of feedback. It's just that I was younger. And so I was able to handle it by the time I was 24 or something. But I promise that the feedback I gave her was no harsher. It was no, it wasn't critical. It wasn't personal at all. Mm-hmm. But I think she hadn't had the same development at the same time period. And it was hard. But whatever.
Well, and it can be.
She's great, right? Whatever. Yeah. She has a doctorate. It's like we get through these things. So, she's amazing. But
I think that's a big point though, is you do get through it. Yeah.
We get through it. Absolutely. Yeah.
Well, and I really love that you are, really hitting on the idea that, you're going to get feedback that's not going to feel good. And no matter how you've matured, some feedback still stings. Like maybe I'm not in tears over a B, but some of it's still like, but I liked that part. You know what I mean?
Yes.
It's like there's some of that's still going to sting. And I do want to also caution that it doesn't mean that every single piece of feedback that you get, you have to take to heart and change it. Now, that being said, if you're hearing the same thing from multiple people, it probably needs to be something you look at. But, one piece of feedback, I don't think you need to do an overhaul of your entire, product, or, you need to get more than one opinion. Because I know I'm saying that mainly because I can remember one person that I know of right now that I'm thinking of, they just kept changing it. Like, I don't even know how many times by the time they asked me, they had changed it. Like if one person would say something, so they changed it to fit what that one person said. And then they go to somebody else, and then they change it based on what that person says.
Fair statement. You need to have a filter. Yes. You need to take all the information in and also understand the source. If I'm marketing to primarily busy professional moms, maybe even busy professional moms of middle school kids, right? Like, how far down do you want to go down to that niche? You know who I'm not going to listen to? The guy in the office next door, right? Like, I'm not that I'm not interested in his opinion, but when I market to his crowd, I would like to take his opinion into consideration. But at the moment, I am marketing primarily towards a very niche crowd, and I would like to understand what that niche crowd is looking for. But so this was 2 years ago, I asked for a person's feedback, and her focus is on the philosophy of class development, right? So she's a wonderful person, and she has a lot of experience in classroom design accessibility. So she took all my worksheets, and they were all black and white when we were done, and very ADA compliant. And they weren't beautiful, right? Like, I was so sad. I was so proud, like the colors and everything, and even the font kind of tied into the messaging and the feel that I wanted from the course. But then nothing was ADA compliant. And I do want something that's accessible for a variety of people, right? Neuroatypical, I think, is actually an up and coming, very interesting, or neurodivergent, very fascinating crowd of leaders that are coming into the next generation. And so I want that accessibility, but how do I marry like my interest on the creative and the beautiful side of it, that it ties into my analogies, but also meets this compliance? So some of my marketing and maybe the brochures are more on this beautiful side, and the worksheets, they just need to be plain and simple and easy to read font.
Absolutely. Well, and sometimes you're going to have to compromise like that, depending on, even with a client, I can, they can give me a task, and I come up with all the things I think would be wonderful, beautiful. And I show it to them, they're like, not really what I'm thinking, and sometimes you have to compromise on what you think they need to project and what they really, want and love and feel. And I think when you're getting ready to launch anything, whether it's a new business or product or whatever, you didn't realize that compromise is a part of it. What you dream and feel in your own why, much to what you said earlier, it may have to be a compromise to what somebody's going to want to receive and how they're going to perceive it. And I think that's huge. It made me think of when, we were talking about like rejection and like all that kind of stuff, and crying over a bee and all those things. I looked it up because I remembered it was really high, but the Harry Potter franchise is worth $25 billion, right? Yeah. $25 billion. J.K. Rowling was turned down by 12 publishers. Right. Before she even was able to publish her books. And I love stories like that because, obviously a $25 billion franchise it's a big number, right? So there's a lot of people that love it. There were some that didn't, but it didn't make it any less valuable, right? It's still a valuable concept and a valuable idea. And I think it's important to think about those kind of things because, rejection is part of launching. Rejection is going to be part of it. You're going to launch it out there, and, there may be things you need to tweak, and that's why it's not working. But it may just be it hadn't fell into the hands of the right person. And I think that, I'm always, a fan of, critiquing myself and having others critique what I'm doing and stuff. But, there isn't even, medium between getting it to where it's, good enough for now until you get that necessary feedback to need to change it. Because, like with that example that I gave, Chanel, are you ready to come up, Chanel? I don't know what she's saying. I can't hear her. I'm adding you. So we've been talking. Can you hear me? I can.
Yes. Okay. Hey.
How are you?
I'm a lot better. I just left the doctor. It was a good visit. Yes. How are you guys doing?
Doing good. We've been talking about launching products, services, and all the things, and kind of what to watch out for and, some steps to take to make sure that your launch is a success. And I know you recently just launched out a new, I guess you call it
Fabulous
a program.
Friday. Is it Fabulous Fridays? Face on Fridays? Friday Face.
Friday.
Which one
Friday
is it?
Face, yes.
Friday
Friday.
Face?
Friday
Oh,
Face,
I
it's
got
coming.
it. Yeah. Oh, it's coming.
Yes, and I also just launched my second launch of my digital course, Your First Airbnb Academy. So I am deep in launch advice if anybody wants it.
Hit us
goodness.
up. Hit us up.
Well, let's see. Can you guys see me? I'm in a parking lot. I literally just left the doctor's office.
You did a halo now. You're good.
Yeah. On behalf of the viewers and the listeners and my co-host, I'm sorry. I booked my appointment and they said 15 minutes, and yeah, it was 15 minutes times 4. So here we are.
That's how it goes. I've been there.
Yes. I guess my first piece of launch advice is create your posting content before you go live with your launch. It is exhausting to answer questions, create content, post content all at the same time. What you can do, an easy thing to do is go on Asana and then create whatever social media outlets, so LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, whatever, Twitter, put your content every day per social media channel in there. And say you want to launch in 2 months and you want to do a 2-week launch period or a 3-week launch period, you need to have all your content ready to go. That's step 1. Step 2 is decide what you're going to use and stick to it. So if you're going to use Flowdesk, ActiveCampaign, whatever, go high level to send out emails, do that. You need to create your automations first. So why do you need automation? So you have a freebie, and your freebie is what they call a lead magnet. And so you want to get people attracted to your offer. So you offer them a checklist, an ebook, or something that engages them with your company in exchange for their email. That's great. Perfect. Automate that so that you don't have to, every time somebody subscribes, send them an email. Most services like Lead Pages allows you to make automations pretty easily. I'm trying to think of who else. There's a bunch of different ways to automate. Automate your processes. So when people purchase, they automatically get an email telling them what they need to do, so that you can not be the hand holding that creates the chain between the steps. You will be exhausted. And I had to learn the hard way. I was like, oh, it won't be that many people. Oh my goodness. It's a lot of people who are interested, and so you spend a lot of time spinning your wheels doing redundant tasks that just don't really add value to you specifically. So automate. If you don't know how to automate, you can pay someone on Fiverr a nominal fee to help you automate. What else do I have? I'm sorry, did you guys mention these already while I'm running through these in my head?
Nope, we haven't even got to that. That's actually perfect timing.
We're just getting to that portion of it, really.
If you have something that you really like.
Actually, can you go back? Okay. Can you just talk a little bit more about your lead magnet first and why? Mm-hmm. And I think you're a little bit, let's just go back to funnels, lead magnet, how those are all going to tie together before we get into the mechanics.
So I hate the term funnel because it doesn't really explain to you what you're doing. And so a funnel is essentially the steps in between, like the points where you sell somebody something, right? And so typically your funnel is, they opt into the freebie, so they get the next page is to opt in to purchase something for $27. They buy a $27 thing, they try to get them into like a $197. They try to get them into a $997 or something, right? And that can be, your lead magnet can be a webinar, your lead magnet can be a checklist. It's something, the lead is the potential purchaser. So lead is potential purchaser and how you attract them. So lead magnet is, how do I attract people who may buy? That's what lead magnet is. And so freebies, webinars, challenges are really fast growing and consistent ways to get clients on board. That is what a lead magnet is. And then in your funnel, the funnel are the steps, right? So you don't just want them to have a freebie. You want to try to get them interested in purchasing from you with something. That's usually like the second step. And then you try to get them to do something else and do something else. And so the more advanced your funnel, typically the higher amount that you're trying to earn. That's like my take on it, like my input. I don't know if you guys have something. That's what I'm looking for.
No, I think that's good. I mean, and I think the whole thing is just, nourishing them through all the processes, through all the steps, right? It's, giving value at each step that gets them interested in what could be next. That whole cliffhanger mentality. I think she's frozen. And I kind of want to take a picture of this so I can send it to her.
That's a great little.
Yes, it really is. I'm really excited about it. Okay, sorry about that. Anyway, but yeah, I mean, the whole key is to create those valuable nuggets of information. Those valuable nuggets of information. Just knowing Chanel, this is like her nightmare just happened.
Right,
I would be fine with it. Angela would be fine with it, but I think this is her nightmare come true, I'm afraid. But anyway, she's beautiful no matter what. All right, so during those moments in the funnel, you want to be nourishing them through every step and giving value in every step. And, I always use the analogy, when you're selling anything, you want to make sure that you are, creating a relationship. I always say, don't pop down on one knee on the first date and propose marriage, right? You want to date them, take them out to dinner, get to know each other, have conversation, wine and dine, whatever, the whole dating analogy. But if somebody came to your door, knocked on the door, and as soon as you open the door, they popped down on one knee and proposed marriage, you would be a little bit freaked out, right? I know I would. So, that's kind of that same thing when you're asking somebody to do business with you, because the exchange of money is actually a very, very personal thing. And we don't think about it like that a lot of times, but it is. So you have to create that relationship by creating the value. And so when we're talking, funnel or lead gen or whatever term you want to use, we're actually describing the same thing of bringing them in with something that's of value that they're interested in. And I know Chanel mentioned checklists and an ebook and, whatever the case may be. But the idea is that you're giving them something that they want. And in exchange, you're getting their information where you can keep adding value to their lives, to their business, until they're ready to commit to doing some type of business relationship. She keeps dropping off. Not sure what happened. So, but do you have anything you want to add to that, Angela?
So I think it's interesting. Of course, our money honey is always a little more advanced than I am when it comes to, she's talking about upselling them. And I'm still just trying to make the first sale when I think about my funnel, right? So to your point, I'm still saying, here's a little content and here's a little this. And maybe I'm just being too long when I listen to some of the way, and I've even been watching her launch. Maybe I spend too long in my funnel process, give away too much. I don't know.
And,
it's interesting to hear other people's.
I am a fan of the upsell. So anything that I do, there's always an upsell. Anything that I have, there's always an upsell. From the first time I launch it out, there is an upsell version. When I'm not saying it's wrong to do it the other way. I think my mentality is always bring them in on a more comfortable layer, whether that's free. I don't know where they're at her. I'm going to try to add her. Are you good, Chanel? Can you hear us?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm having a terrible experience. Okay.
I'm sorry.
It hung up on me, but now I'm back. That's the confused face. I was like, her mouth is moving, but I can't hear a thing. Okay.
All right.
So I don't know what's
we
happening.
can hear you.
Okay.
So no, we were just discussing still just the funnel. Can you hear me?
Mhm.
Okay. There must be a delay.
So I'm gonna say. Is there a delay?
I think so because we don't usually step over each other's words.
No.
Okay, let me try something.
Maybe we need to talk and then count to 3.
Did you just hear her 3? Mm-hmm. That's awesome. Okay, technical difficulties today.
All right. I think I'm gonna take you down. You mean take you down, or are you good?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Is this better? Is this delayed
Yes.
or is this better?
I think it's better.
We'll see.
Okay.
All right. So we were talking about the funnels and just being able to give them valuable information through each step of the way. And I know Angela's mentioning that she doesn't typically do the upsell. I guess that's a question for you, Chanel. When you launch something out the first time, do you offer an upsell version of whatever you launch out? I know I do, but like I was telling her, I don't know that there's a right or wrong on that.
Yes, I always offer an upsell. Here's why. Like sometimes people, okay, I'll give you a good example. So with my course, there are some people who want one-on-one mentorship. And so I don't always pitch that because the price difference is thousands of dollars. And I know that if you can afford the $1,000, that you may be able to grow into the more expensive program. But I don't offer it until I have a quality conversation, get to understand what the value is. And for people who want more instruction, are aggressive about scaling, the one-on-one support works out really well for them. And so I always offer that. I'll actually tell people we can extend it, for another month. I always offer upsell because there's quality in the relationship, and you want to make sure that you're giving them all you can offer to help them at the time. And I just feel like if you just offer them one thing, you're kind of closing off the opportunity to help them, and they really could. There's a solid chance that some people can benefit from something greater, different, or more from you. So I always offer the upsell.
So that's interesting. So you're doing your upsell verbally then. You're not doing it as an auto add-on to the cart or anything in your digital checkout.
Oh, yeah. They're always. Yeah, you buy one thing from me, I want you to buy 3. I always offer the upsell. And I make it so attractive that you really can't say no. So, sometimes I have a $27 bundle, and I have, other products that I'll offer to them for $40, right? And the reason is I'd rather have 40 than 27, right?
Yeah.
Hello?
Huh?
Yes.
You say, Angela?
I said yes.
So it works out really well for me. That $13 adds up fast. With 10 people, that's an extra $130. I didn't do anything extra. It's automated, so why not?
Right.
Yep. Well, and I
Go ahead.
Go ahead. No, I was just going to say, and I'm sure that even during conversations, you have your upsells that aren't listed, because I know I have both. I have ones that are listed, hey, well, you can get this for, like you just said, $13 more or whatever. But then verbally, I have some things that I can offer that, I typically don't put in any of the online, clickable things or any documents or anything, just because it's overwhelming to have too many choices too. You want to have choices, but you don't want too many choices.
Correct. So I usually offer a single bundle upsell for that kind of thing. And then typically if I'm on a phone call, I try to gauge during the conversation. I have these psychological questions you can answer, and I try to gauge where they are. If people say things like, I don't have a job right now, or money is tight, and so I'll either upsell or downsell them.
Yeah.
And so that's usually pretty important to me for people who I can't upsell or sell at the course is only $1,000, and I have a payment plan that's down to $70 a week. If you can't grab that, that's okay. I'll downsell you into my product that's $197. So I have an upsell and a downsell option, which most people just have one product they offer. But I made $1,000 on my downsell. I try to get something on the phone with people every call.
Yeah. No, and I think that's a smart thing to do, and it's always, always that mentality of not letting them walk away without something, right? You want to give them something. And, you're going to have people that aren't ready to commit. But at that point in time, even if you can get them to just commit to one of your free downloads to get the information where you can keep talking to them and keep wooing them, because there's going to be some people that are, just like you mentioned, psychologically, they're harder to sell. Most
Right.
people, like a high majority of people, are emotional buyers. But there's a few that are logical buyers. Most people that are selling or their goal is those emotional buyers, right? But you're still going to get those people that are very logical in how they buy. And so those are the people that are going to be a little bit harder to sell, the people that you may have to woo a little bit longer with information. So I'm doing it now. And I go big or go home. If I like something, everything in my entire world is going to be about that for that moment. I will buy a course on it. I will do all the things. I'll buy a shirt. I'll buy a mug. I'm just like, I'm that, right? I'm like team spirit type.
You are all in.
I am. That's how I am. I am like a gold mine for anybody that's selling, because if you sell me, you've sold me on everything. I want everything.
Maria, let me direct you to my website.
Yeah.
Strength in Nature.
I use myself as an example too, because a lot of times we're marketing to people that are like us. 9 times out of 10, we're marketing to people that are like us, because a lot of the things that we create to sell are things that we would want to also buy or have or whatever. Right. So, you can think about what would work on you. And if you're not selling a bunch of crap, then you should be happily getting it into the hands of your target audience, because they need it, they want it, even if they don't realize it yet.
Yes.
So I know, as far as like we talked about funnel, I know, Chanel, you hate that, lead magnet, whatever you want to call it. I'm open to whatever we call it. But I think the next step after that is, keeping the marketing on, keeping the relationship going. Because one thing I've seen a lot of people do is they'll launch something out, they'll make the sale, and I've experienced this on my end. I buy something, I never hear from them ever again. That is a hard and fast way to get me to never buy from you again, because I am big on communication. I want to be wooed. It's funny because I had somebody tell me one time, they're like, because I was actually having the same exact conversation. I was working with somebody on how to create their lead, generation, funnel, and what they needed to do for their specific course, and what they needed to do to market it out, and how to talk about it and all the things, right? And I was telling that story about how, I've actually bought things where it's like you buy it, like they're all like your best friend and everything until you buy it, and then boop, they don't exist anymore. And I am that mentality where it's like, never, ever again will I buy anything from you, because to me, that's a hard, fast, like, no from me. Like, I never get anything from you ever again once you got my money, but we were best friends before that. No, thank you. And I had her say, well, that's because you're an Aries. And I thought that was so funny. But it's kind of true if you think about it. Like, usually Aries women are known to be, they want, like, my husband always teases me about it too, but like, I want that, like, I want to be wooed. I want to be wooed. I want to be wooed. So it's like, even that in the business realm, if I'm doing business with you, if I've chosen you to, instead of the other hundreds or thousands of people, I want that experience, right? I want to know that I'm important. I'm just not, another payment that you got, right? And I think that's a mistake that a lot of business owners make. And I don't think it's, most of the time, I don't think it's intentional. I think it's because, they're checking the boxes, right? Okay, I've made this sale. Now I've got to go and work on this person that I'm trying to make the sale. But I know I post about this all the time too, that it doesn't matter if you're making 1,000 sales today. If you sell 1,000 of your courses today and 1,001 are falling out the back end, have you got ahead? You have not. You've gone backwards, right? So you have to really, critique when you're launching something new out, that, if you have, other clients, other, products or services, that you're not, letting those fail just because you've focused on the new and the shiny. So no, that's one thing I wanted to make sure I mentioned, because I know I've experienced that myself, and I can tell you from a customer side, it's a hard, fast way for me to say, you're dead to me at this point. I'm done.
Well, warm leads are, what's the percentage? 80% easier to keep than it is.
Well, an upsell.
The number's huge. But even warm, right, to come back.
Yeah.
A warm lead is better than a cold lead any day of the week. I can't remember what the rule of thumb is for its cost benefit ratio.
I think it's really funny that this is just me. I'm not saying don't cold call. What people do is what they do. I have never hard sold. I've never had to hard sell. I don't. And I have people contact me all the time. Oh, I can get you 33. Like I actually had that today. I can get you 33 leads a day, 33 qualified leads a day. And I'm like, I don't want any leads. I would rather people come to me, because if they come to me, they're warm. I'm not trying to talk them into doing anything. The way that I look at it is what I do as a service. So if they come to me, they've already recognized that they need help, right? So that right there, I don't mess around with that first part, trying to convince people they need help. They need to come to that conclusion on their own. Now, I'll put out some information here and there that they can read or listen to or whatever, but, I'm not going to sit and try to talk somebody into something, and I think, for most people, they don't like being sold to. Think about it. I mean, when somebody calls you and they're just like, are you the best? I get it all day long. And I have no idea what they offer. It could be the best thing ever. Won't ever know.
I don't answer the phone.
Are you the business owner? I'm like, click, done. I don't even, as soon as that phrase comes out of their mouth, they've already lost me. And it could be the most wonderful thing. And I need it more than anything. And I will never know, because that already has me going, absolutely not.
Yes. So we just tossed around a bunch of vocabulary words. And since we're helping people get started, I thought maybe we would go back to them. We talked about leads in general. We talked about cold leads, warm leads, and qualified leads. Would you like to take a stab at defining all of those for us?
Okay, so which one was the first one that you had? Warm leads?
Cold leads.
Cold leads. So cold leads would be somebody that you've not talked to, you've had no relationship with. They probably have no idea who you even are. And you're going to call and be like, I have this amazing course that I just launched out. Think about your inbox, your Facebook inbox. I see jokes about it all the time, about you haven't talked to this girl since high school, and all of a sudden she drops some cold, like, hey, beautiful, you would be the perfect part of my new group, whatever. This is one of the things that just like gives you that bad taste in your mouth. Those are typically cold leads. Those people that you have not interacted with.
Instagram.
It could be on any
creepy Instagram.
Yeah, it could be any of it. Yeah, anything that's cold, and it's like you didn't ask for any information. You don't want any information, and yet here they are showing up to give you information.
You have no posts on your Instagram account.
Absolutely, yeah. They'll post on it like at the It's obnoxious, and to me it's obnoxious. And I actually have a really good friend. We jokingly argue back and forth about this, because he actually owns a call center, and they specialize in human to human prospecting. Mm-hmm. And I mean, the way he does it is a little bit different, I will agree, but it's not something that I'm a fan of, for a lot of reasons. Like I mentioned with my little analogy of popping down on one knee for, on the first date. But yeah, to me, that's how I would define cold lead. If you've not had any interaction with this person and you're going to come up and tell them that they need to buy your product, service, course, whatever, that's a cold lead.
Yep.
So the next one, I'm assuming, was warm?
Yes.
So warm lead is typically that they've maybe signed up for your ebook, or signed up for, or followed your page. Yeah. Nope. No, I can't. Okay. So anyway, they've signed up for maybe your ebook, or they signed up for, or followed your page. A lot of time there's a little bit of a blurred line between, some people say hot lead and a warm lead. To me, I use those as the same thing. I'm not defining lukewarm, warm, hot, spicy, all these different things that some people do. To me, it's cold, it's warm, or, it's onboarding. I try to simplify it. Qualified. To me, qualified is onboarding. So
not in leads.
So no, well, onboarding as in onboarding to be a qualified lead. So, and not signed the contract yet, but qualified as in they have expressed that they have interest in this particular product, and they are ready to get to the next step. But this is how we do it on ours. We actually have a system. It's warm, because we don't do cold. Warm as in they signed up. We have our people for that. We go to qualified as in they've expressed interest. Hey, I need a new website, right? I need a new website. So at that point, they're qualified. We already know they need a new website. What else they're going to buy? I don't know. So they go to onboarding as far as the fact that they are ready to be onboarded with what we have to offer as far as the website goes, and they go in to be able to be upsold on whatever else we have to offer, and then they become a client. So to the way our system works, qualified and like fully all the way onboarded, we do 4 separate steps: warm, qualified. Well, I guess it's 3 steps: warm, qualified, and then onboarded.
So onboarded, you already have their money, or are you still thinking of a lead? So, right. So onboarding.
Once you have their money, they're completely onboarded. And then the 4th one is offboarded. That's why I said 4 a second ago. We have offboarded because those they actually go back to warm leads. So that's how ours works. Once they're offboarded, they don't go off. So like we remove them. They just recycle back to warm.
Yes. Yep. Yeah. So
that's how our definitions work. And I know there's some blurred lines if you look at like, charts or whatever. And I don't know that you have to kind of look at, what that does mean and how does that work in with your own systems, how many people you have, and all of those things.
How big is your organization? I think you're going to have more lines of demarcation and a little more reach if you are a larger organization, but you're also going to have the ability to tweak your message differently and differentiate a little bit more as well.
Absolutely. So what was the other definitions that we had?
So we had, for leads specifically, when we were talking about cold, warm, and qualified.
Okay.
Yeah. And then the onboarding is really once you're already a customer. You're not a lead at this point. You're a customer.
Yeah. So onboarded is client, customer, and they're ready
I have
to go.
your money. And then for me, because it's more people development, change management, right? The onboarding process is shepherding them through the technology and the processes and the expectations, syllabus. Do you have that understanding? Do you know how to reach me when you have a problem? Do you know the expectations to move through this course and be successful?
Well, and I think, that onboarding process is going to look different depending, because it does even with me, even within my company. Like if somebody wants us to create a, brochure, right? That's going to be a different, process than if we're doing a website. There's going to be training involved in how do you use the website. There's going to be a lot more things involved. So even within all of those stages, depending on what you're doing, it's going to look a little bit different. But you need to kind of, read about what each of those steps are and how does that fit into your own business, the size, like the size of your business, the structure of your business, and what your product and service is.
I think we're going to have to mute her.
Oh, sorry, y'all. I didn't know y'all could hear me. Sorry.
Now I can.
Well, we can now, and then it's just muted. Now you're muted.
Yeah, okay. I'll mute myself. I'm sorry. Okay.
Oh, you're good.
Sorry about that. Okay. Hey.
Hi. Welcome back.
Maria, I was backstage. Maria gave some very, very great definitions about the different types of leads. That was awesome.
How do you structure yours? Do you have it structured in like I said, mine's 4 steps, but my 4th is actually offboarding, and that recycles them back to warm. So, but how many steps do you break yours into?
So I do actually, unlike you who doesn't do the whole cold leads, I do a lot of DMing people. So I do have warm leads. So how my process works is most of my marketing comes through my Facebook group. And so one of the questions I ask is, would the person like to meet with me to understand how they can get an Airbnb and started in 6 weeks or less? Okay. So if they say yes, they're a hot lead, and I have their email, so they're on fire, right? So that's step 1, I suppose. I created a community where people can, perform outreach without me having to do as much work. But then within that community, I would say for every 2 to 4 that, let's say on a scale of 10 people in a room, right, 4 of those have actually answered the question. And then 4 of those have said yes, 5 of those have said nothing, and 1 has said no. So then that middle would be a cold lead, except they will still be warm because everyone in my ecosystem has an interest in Airbnb. Some of them are doing competitive research. Some of them, are just people who like to join groups. but I do my vetting that way. So I don't really, I guess they're warm leads from the beginning to Maria. I guess I'll take that back.
Yeah.
But I don't just go idly DMing people on Facebook anymore because I have my group is 1,600 people. So that's a pretty sizable amount, and it's growing all the time. And then once I meet with them, they usually move in one category or another. Not at this time, and now I have a product to downsell them to because I realized that for a lot of people, the downsell would have worked, but I didn't have anything to offer them. And then they become either cold, I call it like lukewarm. So they come in warm, so either they're lukewarm and then become hot, right? So the hot leads is the one that said yes, and I go after them. With my sales process, it's usually either one or two things. If they say, like, I want to take a course, I send them the link. If not, I set up a call. And then during the call, I either secure the sale or they go back to being a warm lead. Because if they go through the trouble of getting on the phone with me, then they obviously want my services. And then after the sale, I am still trying to navigate what makes the most sense. I think what I'm going to start doing is like a quarterly town hall, which is inviting people back in to ask questions, comments, concerns, talk about the experience, and keep them warm. Not necessarily sell them anything, but just to get an understanding of like how I can help them going forward. But then I just have them complete and then cold. So some people, they don't buy. I still push them back to warm because they're in my community and they're hearing from me all the time. So they, unlike other people who need to email their former clients, my former clients see me interacting on Facebook, 4 or 5 times a week. So my engagement with them is still pretty high, but I do need to do a better job, like Maria said, of like direct engagement. Like that has not happened very well. So I guess I have like probably a 4-step process, but I would say warm, hot, complete, or back to warm. So really 3.
Yeah, and I would define all yours as, in my definition, as warm because they've already agreed to join your group. And I think that's completely different than if they've joined your group, DMing them is not weird. You know what I mean? It's only weird if you just.
But her group is really big, so at some point, the Facebook algorithm doesn't even allow you. Like we have to work within the AI that we're given, right? And so, again, by the time you start having conversations about how hot and how warm, it really depends on how large the audience is before you start gradients.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I was just making the point that I would consider somebody that joined a group on purpose. Like they joined it, you didn't add them. If they joined it, chose to join it, I would definitely, define them as warm. Mm-hmm. But I do think like one of the next things on making sure that your group, or not your group, but your launch of whatever it is successful, and we've kind of touched on this a lot throughout talking today, is it is talking to them, right? It's that relationship building. And networking and all of those things. I think those things make for a successful launch of whatever you have, because that can fill in the gaps of early on. We talked about beta testing and ugly launching it out there to get feedback. It can also help with you finding warm leads. It can help with all the things, is really establishing your network and bridging out and marketing it first to your network to be able to get those things. And I think that's a great step. I know networking has been a huge part of my business, and honestly, I'm partial to it, so I think it should be a part of everybody's business.
How's COVID doing for you? I mean, we just up here in Northern Ohio or Central Ohio have just said basically no more masks. A lot of the businesses are moving to no masks. So I think a lot of the networking is going back to networking.
Yeah.
I'm excited to see people again. I think all my lipstick was expired. I was like digging through the bins this morning.
So you better get some new lipstick.
Yeah, I don't know if Chicago's going no mask. I think the governor said they're lifting the mask mandate, but I think the mayor of Chicago is not quite sold on that, so we'll see.
Gotcha. Yep.
Well,
I think
either way, I think it's a great idea to network. If you're not in a place where you're able to network in person yet, there are lots of online ways to network, including, like Chanel mentioned, Facebook groups. You know, there's still Clubhouse. I know some people have forgotten that Clubhouse exists. I still like Clubhouse. And then there's lots of other options out there available. There's no shortage of places where you can network. It's just making sure and making the time to get out there and talk to people and interact. And I like to allot a certain amount of time to that. That keeps me accountable. I have no problem networking. I have a problem stopping. So, at some point in time, I have to actually get work done. So I allot a certain amount of time to networking every single week. But I do think it should be a part of your weekly schedule on getting out there and networking, whether it's in person, one-on-one, in a group, or online.
yes,
I think that's definitely a key to a successful launch.
absolutely. Yep.
So I know we've been talking for a while now, so I actually think we're going to go ahead and wrap it up. I feel like we could do a whole other episode on some other key aspects of a successful launch, and we may end up adding something in later, in the year. But I will go ahead and say that we will be back again next Tuesday at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And we would love it if you would click like, click share. If you're watching the replay, just hashtag replay in the comments. That helps us know how many people are watching the replays. And we will see you again next week. Thank you, Chanel and Angela, both of you, for being on there. And safe travels while you're driving, Chanel.
Thank you very much, Maria.
All right. Thank you, guys. Have a great week. Check us out.
You too.
Bye-bye.